My dad, stepmom, stepbrother, and I were living in the house my mother initially owned. I moved out after my stepbrother took the box that had all of his mother's jewelry out of his mother's closet and concealed it inside my closet. I had no idea about it until my stepmom walked into my room and asked me one more time if I still insisted on not letting my stepbrother share the car my dad gave me. I said no, and she said, "Okay then," casually walked to my closet, opened it, pulled out her jewelry box, and started yelling. I freaked out, asking what was going on. Dad came into the room and she started crying, claiming I stole her entire jewelry box and was planning to sell it. I was stunned. I swore on my deceased mother that I didn't steal anything, yet my dad didn't believe me. My stepmom demanded I get out of the house and I had to leave because of the pressure. My stepbrother admitted to putting the box inside my closet and bragged about it. I lived with my uncle for 7 years. I miss my room, backyard, and my mother's memories in that house. My stepbrother took over everything. My dad didn't attempt to connect for years and kept calling me a thief, until recently when I visited my uncle's and he happened to be there. He looked thin and exhausted. He said he found out my stepmom set me up and apologized for not believing me then. He said he forgave her and hoped I'd forgive him because he wouldn't forgive himself if I didn't. He then talked about having debts and needing money to pay off debts or he'd lose the house and asked to borrow money from me. I got quiet and then I asked why they couldn't sell the jewelry they accused me of stealing. The car he took back. Heck, where's my stepbrother when they need him? My dad shook his head and asked if my mom would want me to see him homeless, with no help or worse, see the house she built and her memories there go to waste. I said I wouldn't pay after they kicked me out of my mother's house because my stepmom didn't want me there. You must be wondering where my stepbrother is now. He's dead. He moved to another town, became a police officer for 4 years, conned widowed women out of their money and houses. He passed away suddenly at the age of 33, so he didn't enjoy his ill-gotten gains for long. My dad and uncle agreed that by paying, I would be saving my mother's house, but it's no longer her house after my stepmom turned it into a shrine for her son, who she calls a hero, and used my room as storage for his things. So when I walked in for the first time after years, I felt nothing. The connection is no longer there. I still refused to pay, and we had an argument, then I left. My uncle saying that I'm making a mistake by thinking irrationally and in a spiteful manner, and should consider my dad and stepmom are helpless, sick, and grieving, and need help. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Would your mom want to see you get kicked out of her home, left homeless with no help or contact from your father for 7 years, while another woman and son destroyed and spoiled the memories in the house she built? Oh wait, that already happened. Your father poorly chose a woman and her son, who were both evil, horrible characters over you. They both ended up sucking the life out of him, and in the end, he chose to forgive her for it and ask you to also? Yeah, no. Some things are forever unforgivable, and I'd say this falls into that category. If I was dead and somehow watching from the void, and my husband kicked my baby out, believing his Disney villain new wife and her evil spawn over our child, disowning and abandoning her, and leaving her homeless, in that case, I'd love to see my former husband and his new wife lose everything, including my house, and become homeless themselves. It's karma for them to be homeless. Not the idiot. Your dad knew all along. He's just realized he hitched his wagon to the wrong horse and is crawling back because he's in debt. The kind of man who would forgive someone for framing his son for a crime is not someone you want as a father. The "what would your mother want" is the worst kind of hypocrisy. If you can afford and want to, I would either buy it from your dad, let them foreclose and buy it then, but I wouldn't give him a single penny otherwise. Not the idiot. It's rarely a good idea to spend your money helping someone save their house from eviction because the underlying issues, overspending, underemployment, addiction, etc., that cause them to be so far behind on the payments aren't solved. Your dad only reached out to ask for money. He doesn't truly care to get to know you as a person. Let the house go, and consider letting your dad go as well. I am a grandma, and I own a pretty good business in accounting. I'm not filthy rich, but I surely have a good amount of money, and I've set aside a lot of money for my grandson for college, or a house if he decides not to go to college. Every year for his birthday for the past 8 years, I've given him around $800 a year for Christmas and his birthday to enjoy himself. It's quite a hefty sum of money, but he is a great child, and I believe he deserves the money. He is a teenager at the moment. Well, recently, he came forward and told me for 5 years that my daughter-in-law has stolen a lot of money from him, and some from my son as well. It turned out that she was spending a lot of money on herself and decided to pretend that my grandson's money would be going towards college funds. It was usually through gift cards, so how would it even go towards college in the first place? Not only this, but apparently, he was barely even fed and didn't get basic necessities a lot of the time. 6 years ago, she broke up with my son and dated a man whose salary was well enough to ensure my grandson was getting what he needed. They weren't in poverty. I was furious. Not only was the money I gave my grandson to have fun with being used by someone who I didn't even like in the first place, but my grandson was being neglected when they could have given him the necessities. So I recently emailed my daughter-in-law, telling her how much she owes me, and if she doesn't pay back by the end of the year, I'm getting my lawyers involved. Well, she was furious and started using the fact that her boyfriend is military as a way to threaten me into dropping the charges. I told her I refused to do so and ignored her after that, knowing if she continued to threaten me, all she was doing was incriminating herself. My other son, who is also an employee of mine, said I was being too harsh on her and should have just let it go, and that I already have enough money to pay him back. Before I get asked about this, yes, CPS was involved. There's already a case against her, but this is out of CPS's realm entirely. Grandson lives with my son already, but official custody arrangements haven't been assigned yet. They aren't divorced. So, am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Go to the police and make a report of the threat she made to your life. Tell them that she has been taking money from him and neglecting him. The fact that you have more money does not mean you should have to pay again and again and again. Keep and document all evidence, as well as anything said by your grandson. She sounds like a real piece of work, and she is very due her comeuppance. Not the idiot. Only an idiot would steal from their own child. That money was intended for your grandson, not your daughter-in-law to spend on herself while neglecting him selfishly. Fight and do what you can to get your grandson's money back to him. This will show him that you don't let bullies or criminals win, and that it's okay to hold people accountable for their awful actions, no matter who they are to you. Not the idiot. Don't threaten a lawsuit. Start one. The point isn't that you could give him more. The point is that she stole it. I'm glad CPS is involved, and that should help your attorneys. I am loathing to say, but I doubt she will get the money she stole. She's already spent it. As for the military boyfriend, I doubt he exists. However, military pay isn't quite that high, so if she's saying she found someone who can afford her taste, she isn't dating a military. I would mention that she has said such things to your lawyer. Good luck, Grandma. My husband and I have been living together for 1 year. When we moved in together, I brought my 3-year-old dog while he brought his 18-year-old cat. We tried to introduce them to one another by initially separating them, then by introducing them to each other's smells, followed by letting them see each other whilst at a safe distance. They appeared to get along, but after one day, the cat began making its dislike for the dog very clear. In response to this, we've taken to keeping the cat and dog separated by gates when there is no one around to supervise them. When we are around, we splash them with a small amount of water. If the cat begins to fight with the dog, which worked for a while, until recently when the cat became relentless in its efforts to go after the dog, even after being splashed with water. As such, we took the cat to our local vet to assess it for any issues. The vet told us that he was perfectly healthy. Another issue that we have to consider is that I'm pregnant. While I'm not saying that the cat would be nasty towards my baby, the way it has acted towards my dog has caused me to worry. I brought up the idea of taking the cat to a cat sanctuary, where it would hopefully be able to find a new home in a relaxing environment, and without fear of being euthanized since we can't take it to any family members. Unfortunately, his family is refusing to have the cat, and my family's in the UK. We argued virtually non-stop about this for days, until my husband finally agreed to take his cat to said cat sanctuary. However, he is still pretty upset with me. I feel terrible for my husband. However, I feel like it was the right decision, not only for the dog, but also for our future baby. You are the idiot. It's an 18-year-old cat. Not only is it incredible unlikely to find a new home, but think about how stressful that would be for the poor thing. Please go back and save his cat. I'd honestly never forgive you if I was in his shoes. Agree. Jesus, the cat's days are numbered anyway. Cats and dogs fight. Dropping it at a sanctuary is the literal abandonment of an elderly cat. Nobody is going to adopt an 18-year-old cat. It will die alone in a cage now. You gotta acknowledge that fact. You're lying to yourself if you think this cat is gonna find another home at 18. It's not. You are the idiot. Like, I don't see how you don't see that. And I hate to be this person, but if I were in your husband's shoes, this would end the marriage for me. How incredibly eye-opening it must be that he married a heartless person such as you. Edit. Can you imagine someone asking you to rehome your animal after having it for 18 years? Despicable. My sister was always my dad's favorite until she got pregnant at 18 and ran away. It was a huge scandal in our social circle, and my parents took it badly. In the end, I feel like I suffered because of her actions. My dad became so strict that I wasn't even allowed to go anywhere without an escort. I was moved from a mixed school to an all-girls school, and I was never allowed to even look at a boy who wasn't related to me. I was only allowed friends that were children of their friends. He also threw himself into work and was nothing like the dad I had before then. I was only a child when my sister left, and the sudden change was hard to understand. I got married 2 years ago. I wasn't allowed to date at all, except for the man I later married because my dad really likes him. If my dad had a son, he would want him to be like my husband, so he was pleased when he found out that we would get married. Unfortunately, it hasn't been what I hoped for, especially since I had to move to a whole different country where I know no one. My sister came back into our lives around 3 years ago. My dad barely has a relationship with her, but my mom was overjoyed she was back, and so was I. The problem is that she's become so critical about every choice I ever make, including my choice of a husband. I'm currently visiting my parents and 5 months pregnant. My mom asked me about my marriage, and I didn't want her to be worried, so I just told her things were good. My sister didn't accept the answer and kept prodding until I told her I was lonely and things weren't what I hoped for. My sister turned around and said she wasn't shocked and that I was miserable because I was so desperate for Daddy's approval that I married someone just to get it, and that I was an idiot to let him knock me up so quickly. I was so angry, I said, "At least I'm not the selfish witch who Dad hates." She ended up leaving the house in tears and hasn't responded to my messages. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Your sister was out of line to judge your choices the way she did, but you were equally out of line to judge her choices. I mean, did it occur to you that she ran away precisely because your father is controlling and judgmental? No? Your father has succeeded in dividing his daughters so they compete with each other instead of joining in solidarity against his nonsense, and that's a real shame. I don't get how people get mad at someone for reacting to an idiot. If someone was disrespecting me like the sister was doing to OP for no reason, then yes, I'ma hurt some feelings. But you don't get to run away and mess up my life and think I'm going to sit here and take your crap. Not the idiot, OP. And if this was me, I would have said something a lot sooner and a lot harsher. Not the idiot. But I do think that your dad is a huge idiot that has spent years conditioning, controlling, manipulating, and emotionally abusing you. Your sister probably is right that you're desperate for Daddy's approval. He has conditioned you to seek it. It's not your or your sister's fault. Your relationship with your sister is important for both of you, as you missed out on so much, and you can probably gain a lot of perspective from her. I'm sorry that you feel lonely in your marriage. You deserve to feel like you're with your best friend. I, female 44, have 3 girls who I'll call May, 21, Jessica, 19, and Diana, teen. Of course I'm biased, but all 3 of them are genuinely beautiful and charming. However, Diana isn't as social as her 2 big sisters. It's the classical teenage sitcoms differences. May and Jessica were social butterflies in high school. They had lots of friends and were very well known. Diana, on the other hand, has had the same 5-person group of friends since middle school, and they spend most of their time playing video games, particularly League of Legends and Smash Bros. Sometimes they stream. In general, they are more on the geeky side. Like I said, a very cliche difference. Diana has had bad luck, and thanks to lockdown, she hasn't had the full high school experience her sisters had, but she doesn't seem as affected as one would think. On the other hand, it makes sense. Despite the worst part of the lockdown last year, she pretty much played with her friends online quite often, so I'm guessing she didn't feel as isolated as her sisters during these times. But still, it concerns me a little. Teenage years are a lot about being social and adventurous, and even without this global situation, she chooses to stay indoors. Anyway, the problem is that Diana's high school is planning a dance this month, since last year it was canceled. I imagine she'd be excited about her first dance, but she just isn't. And yesterday she told us that on the day of the dance, she and her friends plan to participate in a local League of Legends tournament. This made me angry. She literally has all the time in the world for video games, but a limited amount of high school events, and she's just ditching them for irrelevant video game tournaments. I usually try to be supportive of her hobbies, but this crossed the line. I told her she couldn't go to the tournament, and that if she didn't go to the dance, she wouldn't go out that day or play video games for the weekend. An argument started. She said she just preferred other activities, but I stand firm in my punishment if she at least didn't give it a chance. As I said, my girl is as beautiful as her sisters. I'm sure she wouldn't have a difficult time making friends. She doesn't have anything to be insecure about. When May and Jessica had this dance, they started prepping in September, trying new styles, finding the best costumes, all of that. I would drive them around and help them in any way possible to prepare. I wouldn't call it a tradition, but it's a moment that's also important to me to have with my daughter. After the argument, my husband told me I was an idiot, and if she didn't want to go, that was on her. But what if she regrets not going when she's older? She can always play video games, but time won't stop, and she won't be in high school much longer. Still, my husband is rarely this upfront, so I wanted to know, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. My daughter isn't performing the stereotype of femininity, so I'm punishing her. Fixed it for you. Apologize to your daughter and offer to help her out with attending the LOL tournament. Your daughter is awesome. I hope her team wins. Or how about, I am an extrovert and demand that my introvert daughter be one as well. Or I was popular in high school. I miss it, and now I'm demanding my daughter be a mini-me so I can relive my glory days. For some reason, extrovert people refuse to accept that there are people who hate socializing and parties and high school dances. They think anyone who behaves different is wrong. You are the idiot. Diana is her own person. She doesn't have to be like May and Jessica. Stop acting like she needs to be. She's old enough to decide if she wants to go to her dance or not. Plenty of kids don't go to high school dances, and it never crosses their mind again. Embrace who Diana is, and stop trying to put her on the same cloth as May and Jessica. My mom also got frustrated when I didn't want to participate in social things, and it made me feel like there was something wrong with me all the time. So you are pretty much telling your daughter that you do not like her the way she is. You are the idiot, OP. She has friends. She's not antisocial. Stop trying to make her into someone she's not. Instead, put some energy into finding out about the activities she does enjoy. Start appreciating the daughter you have for who she actually is. Make new traditions special to you two.